Ask off brings us to 20 minutes past 11, and this is the last hour of our show this morning. But before we go our separate ways, we are still celebrating women as we're still in the month of women. We have exactly 9 days before we bid this month farewell, so we have to capitalize on the time remaining to celebrate as well as elevate the names that continue to make remarkable changes in whatever industries they are in. And this time around, our celebrated hero for the day, or shiro for the day, is Ayanda Kotobe. She is a finance director, and as we shine the spotlight on woman, Ayanda Kotobe is a finance leader whose journey, like I said, embodies resilience, purpose, and a deep commitment to equity. Now, she currently serves as a finance director, overseeing very complex portfolios that include finance, legal, taxation, governance, and controlling. But beyond the technical expertise of being a chartered accountant with the BCom Honours in Accounting from the University of Johannesburg, it is her people-centered leadership that stands out. For Ayanda, the fight for women's rights is personal and professional. Professionally, it means that women should be treated as equal members of society. Personally, as a South African woman, it is painful to live under the constant threat of GBV and femicide. The laws may recognize our rights, but society has not caught up. Now, breaking barriers in male-dominated spaces is something that she knows all too much. Like many women in leadership, Ayanda has faced systematic bias in industries that have been long dominated by men. She says early in her career, the systems were designed to favor white males. It wasn't always intentional exclusion, but it was structural. Now, mentorship and sponsorship helped her navigate those challenges. Now, still, she pushes back against the misconception that black women lack confidence. The problem is not confidence, it's the conditions and the narratives that continue to question women's capabilities. She joins us on the line this morning on Area Code. A very good morning to you and a happy Women's Month, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me this morning. Thank you.
Take us back to the beginning. What inspired you to pursue a finance career, and how did your journey lead you to your current office of being a finance director?
Yeah, I think the journey started with wanting to be a chartered accountant, and at the time, I suppose I had, call it materialistic reasons why I wanted it to happen. But I think also as a child, it was, for me at the time, I viewed it as an opportunity, I suppose, to better my life and better the life of my family. But I think as I grew older and I understood what the job itself entailed and what was required, I suppose, in terms of the South African landscape, I think when I qualified as a chartered accountant, and it's probably still the same now, is there aren't a lot of African black chartered accountants. So growing into the profession and understanding the need for that is what then drove my interest in finance, in chartered accountancy. And fast forward to where I am today, it's all about wanting to make a change, but also wanting to be the difference, and wanting to be that role model for more kids who look like me when I was a kid, to see that it actually is possible and it can be done.
Definitely. And what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced as a black woman entering a very white male-dominated industry early in your career? Yes, the landscape has changed, but once upon a time, you are part of the woman who had to rewrite the narratives within this industry. How did that look like on a daily in terms of going about your duties and forging your way forward?
Sure, that's a very loaded question, but thank you for the question. I think the landscape does look different now, but we still have a long way to go. So yes, when we started out, it was also difficult, and I think the barriers that I would have experienced, or the challenges I would have experienced, is, when you walk into a room and you're wanting, because you're still young and you're ambitious and you're wanting to make a change. In making a change, you're wanting to share ideas, call it being innovative. But if you're walking into a room where people don't necessarily look like you or sound like you, it's very difficult to convince them to buy into what you are selling, if I can call it that, to buy into your ideas. So for me, the barriers would have been that it would have been a trying to bring people along and trying to voice my opinions across a room and across a space of people that don't necessarily see or view things the way that you do. And secondly, I think it's very difficult to try and change things where things have always been done a certain way and it's worked. So if people are used to doing things and they feel that whatever it is that they're doing and it works and that's how it looks, it's very different to try and make them see that it can actually be done differently if you don't look like them. So for me, that was the biggest challenge.
Yes, you've mentioned how the role of mentorship and sponsorship played a very important role in ensuring that you are successful like you are today. Who were some of the people that helped open doors for you, and how did they shape your path? And what were some of the mentorships that you received along your journey to being a CA?
I think in starting out my journey of being a chartered accountant, I think the program itself it does offer, opportunities for mentorship. And I think just starting out from there, it's where that kind of mentorship and coaching was structured. And that is because it's required in the training itself to become a chartered accountant. But the one thing I learned on very early on in my career was that we don't really need to champion struggle. We don't really need to champion mistakes. There's people that have been there before us and they've made mistakes and they've learned from them, and we can then learn from those mistakes and learn from those people and become better people.
Yes.
And I think that started out very early on in my career. The people that I really look up to, and I won't say it was like close having relationships with them, but it's people that I've looked up to from a distance, and it's two Black African females who have inspired me and inspired my journey, and that is Uphumzile Mlambo Ngoka. And I think I personally love her journey. I personally love how she has taken each and every position that has been given to her and she's turned it around, and made things better for the Black female. So those are the people that I look up to. But taking it back to my personal space, I think I wouldn't have been where I am if it wasn't for my mentors and my coaches. And that is because those people have seen things that I obviously wouldn't have seen before, but they also have the experience. But I think also growing up when you're young and in your career, and this is what now I'm trying to do with my team and the people that I'm mentoring and working with, is you need someone to shine, that blind spot to you, to say, you're not aware of A, B, C, and E, and they coach you and they guide you through it so that once you then become aware of your blind spots, you're then able to work on them and become a better person. So for me, the people who have been my coaches and mentors, and there's a lot of them, I'm not going to mention them all at once, but those people have changed my life in such a way that they are able to speak about me in rooms that I cannot be in, because obviously the vast experience that they have, but also coming back to me and shining that light and those blind spots to say, here are the blind spots, here are the areas that you can work on to become a better person.
And we have to take a quick breather and take our news headlines. But when we come back, we continue on leadership and how it must be value-driven in order to have an impact on the people that you're leading, as well as having a positive impact on the organization that you are serving. The conversation continues with Ayanda. Right now, we have our newsreader, Nomama Dlamini, who will be bringing us up to speed with what's happening in the world of
stations.
Welcome. This is Area Code with the 18. Weekdays, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
In spirit of the month of women, which is August, we are shedding the spotlight on women who've gone on to do remarkable things in their careers and whatever it is that they decided to pursue. And this time around, her name is Ayanda Kotobe, and she is a finance director. And we are talking all things redefining leadership and equity in South Africa. And just before our news headline break, we're talking about the figures that inspired her to just keep going in terms of her accounting degree, as well as pursuing the things that she has set out for herself as a goal. Now, your role covers not only finance, but you tap into the legal as well as the governance and compliance world. How do you balance such a wide portfolio while keeping people at the center of your work?
So yes, I look after, I think at RS we would call it the corporate division. So that's why it's got the different aspects in terms of the portfolios and the things that we look after. But also considering my position and where I sit, the goal is obviously to carry out the strategy of the business, but there's a lot of pillars, that support us in doing that, but also taking cognizance of the fact that we are a company that exists in South Africa, and for us to exist in South Africa, and we would need to work within the legal ambit of the country and the laws and regulations. So I would say that's where your legal, tax, and governance come into play. So those are sort of like intertwined. So in as much as they sound enormous and challenging, but I think one cannot exist without the other. But also not taking away from the fact that I work with an amazing team. So I've got amazing colleagues, and I look after an amazing team of professionals who bring their true selves to work every day and are dedicated and diligent, but they assist me in every regard. So we work together as a team, and I think because of that, it doesn't sound so challenging and daunting as it sounds.
And as someone who has risen through the ranks, what kind of legacy do you want to leave for the next generation of Black women leaders?
I think to sum it up, and what I feel my purpose is, I think is to be the change, to be the change that I want to see in the world. And the little bit that I can do is here in South Africa. I think for me, what I want to leave behind in terms of a legacy is if I am able to inspire one or two women who look like me, and are African Black and are ambitious, and they are wanting to change their world as well as the communities that they live in. And they're able to look up to me and say, oh, Ayanda was this person that started from humble beginnings, but she forced it through, and she was resilient. And she did A, B, C, D, and E, and she inspired me to do A, B, C, D, and E. I think I would have then served my purpose. I think for us as South Africans, we can't necessarily always rely on, I'm going to say, the government,
yes,
to be and to bring about change for us, right? I think we, as South Africans, and I know I'm going to be a bit biased, but I think as women, I think we have all the power to take matters into our own hands and make the change and drive the change. And I think women are actually more influential in terms of mentoring and coaching the youth to bring about the change. I think it's because of, by nature, we are nurturing, So for me, that's a legacy I want to leave behind. I want to be able to change one or two lives and one or two people who can then also change one or two lives going forward. And together then it's this nice big ripple effect, but we're making the changes that we wanting to see within South Africa at large.
And if you could just rewrite one rule in corporate South Africa to accelerate gender equality, especially within such analytical industries, what would it be?
Sure. That's a very good question, because there's so many things I can think of all at once. So to think of the one thing that I think would make a significant change, for me, this is a personal one, but I think the one place where we really need to do better, and I think it's a global phenomenon or global problem, and it's not only a South African problem, is the pay scales. I think for me, what you get paid, right, simplistically, is probably what you are valued at, right?
Yes.
And if women are doing and carrying out the exact same jobs as their male counterparts, yet they are paid much less, what does that say about the value that women bring into the professional space? So for me, if I could change one rule, if I could change one aspect in terms of how corporate looks, and this is a global phenomenon, it would be the pay gap. Because I still don't understand why there has to be this gap between what women get paid and what their male counterparts get paid when they're doing the equal and same jobs and offering the same value to their companies.
Thank you so much for your time. That is Ayanda Kotobe, who is a finance director, and she has the technical expertise of being a chartered accountant, and she has gone on to do amazing things, and she has a team that she leads with nothing but resilience and purpose, and it's efforts for her to continue changing the narrative and changing the landscape in which you arrived and you weren't so comfortable existing in. Thank you so much for your time, and most importantly, continue doing what you do and stay shining, and thank you for joining us here in Area Code.
VOW 88.1 is proud to have won 3 awards at the Community Radio Awards 2025.